right, so if you've been following this channel closely, you know that Tesla has been working on a self-driving solution for the better part of 8-10 years, however long it's been. And through that time, we've had countless different examples of the company and Elon Musk being very, very, what's the best word? Optimistic about how quickly they can get self-driving or FSD out on the hands of people. And it was met with a lot of disappointment a lot of the times. People like myself would get super excited to try it out. And it would be a pretty big improvement each time. But it wasn't the, self-driving in 6 weeks, maybe 6 months, definitely, or coast-to-coast self-driving example where you can take a self-driving Tesla from New York to California. However, something has happened, it seems, in the last 2 weeks, 3 weeks, and I hate to use the 2-week terminology, but in the last few weeks where I think the equation has changed as it pertains to Tesla actually solving for self-driving. Examples like this one from Nicholas Gibbs from Investing Against the Grain. Wife and I spent 2.5 hours driving all over downtown St. Pete with FSD 12.3, 0 interventions, 0 accelerated pressures, 7 destinations. This is from John Krause, who's a pretty large account on X with 250,000 followers. They're a content director for the Polaris program. FSD beta 12.3 is a leap in self-driving progress unlike anything in the industry has seen. I'm blown away after 2+ hours driving tonight with 0 disengagement. Kaz from Cyberlift, who's a great YouTube channel. Make sure you go check him out. 12.3 FSD continues to surprise me and impress him. If you go and check X for all these examples, you'll find a lot of them, and they're very different from previous releases from the company. Now, what's also very interesting about this time is that it's not just Elon that's out there, hyping up FSD and being over optimistic, and the company ends up under delivering. But now we're getting a chorus of people from Tesla that are very confident in what they've built here. And so we have Phil as an example here. Phil is an engineer, an AI engineer at Tesla in response to this person. So does Tesla full self-driving just kind of work now? As a non-Tesla owner, I was super impressed from Chris. And then Phil, the Tesla engineer, says this is just the beginning. Interesting commentary there. We also have posts from Ashok, who is the lead AI person at Tesla. He's the head of AI. And he created this thread, but I really want to highlight the last post that he made here in relation to FSD version 12.3. Efforts over the past several months went into making this new approach beat the previous V11 stack developed over many years. We believe V12 has net surpassed it now. Based on my personal experience, I would agree with that sentiment. And hence the next set of 12 point whatever releases should bring unprecedented progress. Then we also have a post from Elon himself. 3 significant improvements to FSD will roll out roughly every 2 weeks. 2 weeks. Don't get scared. Should be really shining bright by late April or early May. Just to back that up, it seems like there's a brand new version of version 12.3 being dropped this weekend, which is the 0.1 release 12.3.1, addresses several small annoyances and should start rolling out this weekend. So all of this is to say that it seems like, and I hate to say it, it seems like this time is different. And the reason why I think this is because they figured out how to offload the most difficult part of making a self-driving solution using only cameras. They've offloaded that to an AI brain, to a non-human to figure out how to do that. And here's been Tesla's challenge for the better part of 8 years. They've decided, right or wrong, and if this works, it'll be super right, and I'll explain why. So Tesla decided about 8 years ago, however long it's been, that they're not going to go down the lidar route. They're not going to go down the ultrasonic route. They're not going to outfit a car that might cost, say, $200,000 with all the sensors, with a bunch of sensors and it have drive itself. Instead, they said, in this case, Elon specifically said, people can drive with 2 eyes and a brain, and they can move their eyes around. So all we need are cameras around the car, and then we just have to make the brain in the car smart enough to figure out how to use those cameras. The problem has been for the last 8-10 years is that you have to sit down as a human and write the code to make that work. You have to tell the car what it should do if it's at a stop sign and there's a pedestrian crossing and a horse shows up out of nowhere and there's a meteor falling from the sky and someone's wearing a blue shirt at the corner. It's a crazy example, but that's one of the things that can happen in reality that makes navigating the world very, very difficult. And when you have just cameras, you have to be able to interpret what those objects are and make the correct decision. And that makes it really, really, really difficult for the people working on that solution, because you have to essentially account for every single thing that could go wrong on the road. The way other companies have tried to solve for this, like Waymo and Zoox and what used to be Cruise is not operational anymore, at least as of now, is that they've given the car so many sensors like lidar and ultrasonics and whatever, that it will help them figure out what the hell is going on instead of just relying on vision only. They are using lidar to understand the physical space in a lot more detail, ultrasonics to really understand how close things are getting to it, and then they use high definition maps where they have to have a car go through and basically map the entire city that they're driving in or area to understand every single curb, every single cone, everything that could be part of reality. Of course, anytime something changes, they have to do that again. But really, the lesson here is that there are companies out there that have figured out how to drive it, how to make cars drive themselves, but at a significant cost. Super, super expensive to make one of those cars with all those sensors. And it also takes a really long time because you have to map all those cities and then you have to make those very expensive cars. And making very expensive cars at high volume is very, very difficult. And so that's why a company like Waymo, which is an excellent company, has figured out how to do it. They only operate in very small areas because it's very, very difficult to do it in more places. The flip side of how Tesla's doing it with the camera system is that it's a lot harder to figure out how to make the car drive itself. Obviously, it's taken them upwards of 10 years to figure out how to do it. But the hardware that's needed is a fraction of the other cars. And so Tesla, with a software update, theoretically, should be able to make their existing fleet drive itself because all those cars have those 8 cameras already and that brain, that computer in the car to process what the car is going to do. And so the key change here, which we're starting to see now from users, from customers, is that Tesla has figured out, it seems, at least early stages, how to make the cameras work. And the key there was that AI brain. It wasn't a human sitting down and solving for that. It was an artificial intelligence brain, which has so many implications, truly. It has truly so many implications. Number one, what that means is that the hardest part of the problem, you've now given to a machine that gets better with the more hardware it has and the more data it has. And so the question becomes, is Tesla doing those things? Is Tesla making the brain smarter and more capable to be able to solve self-driving? And one of the clues that we got here in the last few minutes, this article was sent to me earlier today by Nicholas, actually. Shout out, Nicholas. Elon Musk companies are gobbling up NVIDIA hardware even as Tesla aims to build rival computers, from March 21st, 2024 on CNBC. NVIDIA CEO Jensen Huang told employees at an all-hands meeting in November, a few months ago, that the chipmaker wasn't buying ads on X and didn't have plans to do so. However, NVIDIA is getting increasingly cozy with Elon Musk's collection of companies in other ways, and Tesla and XAI are spending heavily on NVIDIA's artificial intelligence system, even as Tesla aims to build a supercomputer to rival NVIDIA systems. Now, that supercomputer is the Dojo chip that Tesla has that they're building in-house. But what this says here, in my opinion, is that there isn't just we're going to say that we're solving self-driving. Seems like their money is where their mouth is. And really what this points to is that this AI brain that Tesla's building to solve self-driving is real. It's a significant improvement. And that's based on a code-based and a software that is no more than a year or a year and a half old, with this specific approach that Tesla is taking with the AI brain to tell the car what to do, versus the previous 8 years of not doing that. And so now the real test is going to be, and I talked about this earlier this year, late last year, as far as what I want to see from Tesla for full self-driving, is the rate of improvement. How quickly can the company make changes so that the car can drive itself in every single situation for literally every single person in the regions and countries that are allowed by each jurisdiction, so that they're actually legally allowed to operate. That's going to be the test. So far, at least from my experience, that rate of improvement has been quite wild. I experienced 2.1 with Bradford Ferguson when he gave me a ride around my area. Then I got the update about a week later with 12.3, and all the issues I was having with 12.2.1 were gone. And the way they made that happen was just giving the computer more chips and more data so that it can learn how to drive. Crazy. So I really think we're starting to get to a point where perhaps finally this might come back to haunt me, which it has many times before. This has to be taken seriously. It's not just a story of, well, Tesla's only going to be a EV automaker, and the FSD thing is this thing that exists in the outer space, and it's just like going to Mars. It's like, no, it looks like they have it figured out. It's just a little bit more data, a little bit more hardware, a little bit more time, and then it becomes clear that it's not just a space thing, it's actually real. And if it's real, what that means, what that implies at least, is that now you have a company that has millions of cars on the road today, right now, that have the camera systems and the computer needed to operate. No one else has. In addition to that, it also has the scale. Tesla's making those cars today. They're making about 450,000 to 500,000 cars per quarter. So 2 million per year of those self-driving robots that only need 8 cameras and a computer in the car, and the AI brain tells it how to drive. What other company out there has the ability to put that many self-driving cars on the road? Doesn't seem like any. And the company is also partnering with one of the greatest companies in the last year or two, NVIDIA, that has done such an incredibly impressive job of capitalizing on this AI revolution. And it just so happens that the company that might actually put this thing into practice and change the way we interact with the physical world using AI happens to be Tesla. But if you're somebody who's been following the story closely, you're probably not surprised by this. You're probably surprised that you actually have to start taking it seriously. That's where I'm at. I'm like, is this real? Is this actually real? I think a lot of people feel that way. It's like, okay, I'm afraid to actually take this seriously because I've been told and I felt like this is real for so long. And now that it seems like it's here, it doesn't feel real because I've been let down so many times. But it's so funny how that happens, right? At the least moment that you expect something, happening happens. If you have 12.3 and you're watching this, let me know in the comment section below what your experience has been. I think it's very important for all of us to be very critical of the software. If you're somebody who is really interested in the story here, Tesla has been working on this for a really long time, and at some point it has to work. It's something that is built into the promise of the company long term. Let me know if you think this is another one of, oh, here we go again, or do you actually feel like this is different? From my vantage point, it feels different. Still doesn't feel real, but it feels different. And the coming weeks and months are going to be extremely telling. And I want to watch this space super, 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 super closely, because if this works, transportation changes forever. If this works, transportation has changed forever. Because now you have a company that can make a self-driving car for about 30 grand each right now, before even coming out with a compact car that's going to be designed for this solution, which it can probably make for 20 grand each. And they already have the self-driving figured out, and they beam it to every car. And all of a sudden you have a company that's making 5 to 10 million self-driving cars per year in the next 3 to 4 years. It gets weird. It gets really, really weird. So let me know what you think in the comment section below. Thank you so much for watching. If you enjoyed, like, subscribe, and support the channel with links in the description. We'll see you in the next one. Bye-bye.